name on the screen. If you could just confirm that name is correct and then let me know who you're representing here today, whether you're the applicant, the owner, neighboring property owner, or someone else connected to the project in some way. So I will start with Josh Ulrich's iPhone.
Hi, I'm Josh Ulrich. I am a neighboring property owner. I'm also on the executive board of the Madisonville Business Chamber.
Okay. Are you going to be here in your capacity as a neighboring property owner and speaking for the Madisonville Business Chamber, or?
Yes, both on both
Okay.
accounts.
All right, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
I see we have Andrew Tetrault.
Hello, my name is Andrew Tatro. I'm the architect supporting Matt Overbeck on the project.
Okay. You said Tatro?
Tatro.
Tatro. Okay.
Yeah. And my firm is
Welcome.
Funway Tatro.
Okay, great. Welcome. And then we also have Matt Overbeck here. Mr. Overbeck, you could unmute for us.
Yep, my name is Matt Overbeck. I am the property owner.
Great, welcome. I see that we have Kate Meehan present from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Kate.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. And I have someone under Cherie and Don Stefan. You'll need to unmute. Sir, you'll need to unmute. There we go.
My name is Don Stefan. I have property across the street from Overbeck Auto Service.
Okay, great. Welcome. All right. We also have Ashton Tucker here, who is just observing. She's from the law department. On the applicant owner side, are we expecting anyone else to join us before we get started, or are you ready to begin?
I'm not expecting anyone else.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get into it then. I need to read through our hearing script. This is going to cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll be able to get started. So this is the April 23rd, 2025 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20250032. That is 6420 Madison Road. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless there's been some written correspondence submitted prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So during that portion, I'll allow Mr. Overbeck, Mr. Tetro to tell me about the project, what exactly it is they're proposing to do here, the zoning relief that's required in order for them to get permits to do this, and then of course why they believe that zoning relief is appropriate and why it should be granted. And then really anything else you'd like to provide. One of you can speak, both of you can speak, however you want to orient your presentation is completely up to you. After you all have had a chance to present, the public will then have an opportunity. So I'll give Mr. Stefan and Mr. Ulrich an opportunity to provide any testimony if they would like after the applicants have presented their case. I'll hear from Ms. Meehan from the planning department to provide any testimony she would like, that in addition to the staff report she has produced. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition, sort of a rebuttal period. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of the witnesses that are going to testify here today. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So I'm going to collectively swear all of those people in right now. So if you could make sure that you are off of mute and raise your right hand. I'll need everyone to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Who's going to be taking the lead for us here on the applicant's presentation?
Matt, and so I can go ahead and just sort of introduce at a high level what we're trying to achieve with the project. My client, Matt Overbeck, has purchased the property at 6420 Madison Road with the intent of extending his existing business, which is across the street, Overbeck Auto, into that facility. From a architectural point of view, we are proposing minor alterations, cosmetic alterations to the exterior of the property, just to kind of clean it up, make it more presentable from the public realm. And then on the interior, some minor alterations to that interior, some addition of equipment, just to sort of make it fit for purpose for Overbeck Auto's use. In relationship to to Mr. Overbeck's request for a variance, he completely intends to sort of comply with all the additional criteria required for that variance. This will be just sort of an auto repair facility and not an auto body facility. All storage of vehicles, all storage of parts of vehicles, and demolition of vehicles is intended to be contained within the interior of the building and not exposed towards the public realm. So that's sort of a high level overview of the kind of architectural goals of the project. I'll turn it over to Matt to sort of speak more to the business and community goals that he has in mind.
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. My name is Matt Overbeck, owner of the property at 6420 and also owner of Overbeck Auto Services. My family purchased property in Madisonville in 1978 at our current location, which is 6403 Madison, which is just across the street on the south side, kind of one block to the west of the property in question. So my family, my dad started business there in 1978, and where we've kind of in the past 48 years have become a fixture of the community and the surrounding communities. We employ around 10 people, basically people from inside and outside of the neighborhood. One of my longest tenured employees grew up right here in Madisonville as well. So obviously I spent a lot of time here. Basically, I hired Mr. Tetral's firm about a year ago to start investigating how we could expand in what we could do, how we could do this with complying with the city and all the desires and zoning. And we looked at a lot of different options, and kind of in the middle of this process, this building across the street became available for purchase. I always like to try to, make use of another building in the facility in the area versus trying to construct something new. So with the time we purchased that building, so the goal is to expand our existing services into this facility. We would not be creating any additional forward-facing or like retail space. All that would remain at the 6403 property, where we would be having customers entering and leaving the property, delivering cars. So this would be employees only operating out of this facility, doing work inside the building, expanding those service opportunities. So obviously our intent is to comply with the wants and desires of the neighborhood and the city as well. So I think we've got a pretty good track record and would like to continue that for years to come.
Okay, great. Could one of you tell me more about any changes to the property that are going to come as a result of this in terms of landscaping, buffering, fencing, or anything else you think is important for me to know about this?
Sure. Would you like me to share a plan of the property? Would that be useful?
Yeah.
Okay, I can go ahead and do that. 1 second, let me find it here. So I have a plan, and I promise it's opening.
While he's doing that, Mr. Overbeck, are you aware of what the prior use was, or what the last use or productive use of this property was?
Yeah, so this is one of those things. I've been, obviously being in this neighborhood almost my entire life. There's been a lot of things in and out of that building. I know the front part had been used for an automotive, like detailing, car wash kind of thing. I think at one point I can remember there was a Kings of Collision, some kind of a body shop or collision repair shop. It was in there, and that could have been 20, 30 years ago. But most recently there was like a car detailing operation. There's a sign up there that says TSS Detail. But I also think it was an extension of, there's a used car lot down the street a little bit further to the west on the other side of the railroad trestle. I think they were using it for maybe like some pre-delivery or detail or something like that. The back half of the building, I think had been added on and was used for landscape. Guy was in there for a long time, storing, I don't know, mowers and snow plows and stuff like that. And then as of recently, I think the back half has been pretty much vacant or just used for kind of cold storage for the previous owner.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Tetra, are you
ready
able
to share my plan here. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, are you able to see this?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll flip through two plans and then show an elevation as well. This plan represents the existing conditions of the property. Madison Road is here to the left of the plan. As I mentioned, the alterations to the exterior of the property are primarily cosmetic. We will be repainting the exterior of the building, cleaning up some of the landscaping around the entrance. And I'll sort of go over those changes here in the proposed plan. At the landscaping that will be cleaned up will be mainly in this area. That'll be to sort of make a little bit more visibility to this side of the building. We will be repainting the exterior, and I'll show you what the intended look of that will be. We are adding ADA and an ADA accessible ramp to the front door. Mr. Overbeck mentioned that they're not hosting sort of retail. There's not a retail space here, but just making sure that these primary kind of public facing spaces are accessible to disabled patrons. Towards the back of the property, the sort of major addition to the scope is adding a 6-foot fence with chain link fence with slats in it to provide screening to the back of the property. Around that fence, the intention is to provide some dense shrubbery to screen that property to I believe this is to the east and to the south. To the north of the property, this is a tree line that wraps the kind of back, the west edge and the north edge of that fence. So we won't introduce any additional landscape screening. We'll just rely on what's there at the moment. To the interior layout, there's not a lot that's going to change. There will be some upgrades to the electrical service. There will be 4 new car lifts that will be added in each of these bays. And there will be a number of existing exterior openings, man door openings on the side of the building, on the east side of the building, that will be blocked up and closed in, just to make that sort of elevation a bit cleaner and more legible for the users. For the exterior, just to sort of highlight this quickly, the paint scheme is pretty simple. We're just trying to sort of bring the exterior of the building in alignment with Mr. Overbeck's branding and in alignment with the building that's across the street. So there will be some sort of blue accents painted across the exterior kind of CMU block building. And those will extend to the front of the building and sort of around that new entrance.
Okay. If you go back to the last site plan you had there, so the new fencing and shrubbery, I guess what is that, to the north?
Right. So north is to the right side of the plan. So north is towards my cursor.
So the the new fencing and shrubbery in that north area, is that intended to screen something on the inside of that fence? And if so, what is it screening?
Yeah,
So
I think, and Matt Overbeck could speak to this also. I think the kind of intention, at least short term, is just to sort of create a secured area in the back. I think there's no intention to do any storage back there in the short term. I know in the long term, Mr. Overbeck is planning to sort of build a full dumpster enclosure in the back and potentially locate a full-size dumpster to the rear of the property.
Is there any intention to store vehicles or parts or any other mechanical equipment in that area?
No, there's no intention to do that. And I know Matt, I mean, through this whole process, he's been very rigorous about understanding the kind of zoning ordinance and making sure that everything we're doing is in compliance. I think at a high level, his real intention is to operate this property exactly like he's operating across the street, where there's no long-term storage of vehicles, parts, or kind of a messy yard with kind of scraps of cars.
Okay. All right.
I
Mr. Overbeck,
can,
is that right?
yes, I can add to that. So, there is no intention to do any kind of vehicle storage. The nature of our work and nature of our business, we're not in a collision repair facility. We're not in a facility that does like a lot of warranty work that requires cars to be sitting for periods of time for approvals or whatever for whatever rhyme or reason. We're kind of a high volume facility that basically thrives and needs to have kind of quick turnaround of services. So storing or keeping cars and parts and stuff long term is not part of our business model. And I can understand. I've entered other communities and they have similar concerns because I understand that the automotive community can often be seen as kind of pack rats and whatnot, and that's not how we that's not how we operate, right? So the primary use of that would be to have some secured parking for my employees' vehicles while they're on site working, and then in the off the off chance that I just need to have something kind of secured. Dumpster, as Andrew mentioned, unfortunately, if a dumpster isn't secured, it gets filled with, people abuse it and those kinds of things, so it's not a collision repair shops tend to have the need for, outside storage or towing operations. We don't do any of that.
Okay. Thanks. One other question I think I have at this time is about potential sonic impacts for neighboring properties. Do you anticipate that there will be some adverse noise? I think of vehicle repair. I always hear that drill in my head, which can be kind of loud. And I think there's some other equipment that can be loud. So do you anticipate that there will be any adverse impacts? And if so, what are you doing to try to mitigate those impacts on surrounding properties?
Sure. I understand what you're saying. The first and foremost, our business hours are 8 a.m. through 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. So there will be nothing happening from a business standpoint in the evening hours or on the weekend hours that would impact neighboring properties during kind of quiet time, if you will. That's the main thing. The second thing, I fully understand what you're saying about the noise, about the impact wrenches, those kinds of things. As much as I hate to say it, that's kind of almost a bygone era. The days of compressed air for impacts is diminishing. Everything's gone to high voltage, lithium ion powered electric guns that operate much quieter. So the need in our facilities for compressed air is fractional compared to what it had been in the past. But kind of like Andrew had pointed out, this is an extension of our existing facility across the street. I don't anticipate there to be any additional noise or anything that is above and beyond what is currently happening. And then additionally, everything's going to happen inside the building. So the driveway space out there, that there won't be cars being placed on jack stands for engine removals or anything crazy like that going on outside of the building. All of that kind of work happens inside the building.
Okay. Will those garage doors typically be open or?
Kind of depends on the temperature and the outside climate. I would say on a day like today or throughout the summer, they would remain open. But in the summer months, it's probably a 50-50. Half the year they'd be open and half the year they'd be closed.
Okay. All right, I think that's all the questions I have right now. Is there anything else, Mr. Tetra, you want to say with the site plan open here?
No, I think I've touched on everything. Unless someone has a specific question, I can point it out or speak to it.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I'm going to turn it over to the public now and give them an opportunity to provide any comments. So I'll start with Mr. Ulrich and go to Mr. Stephen or Stefan.
Certainly. So, as the real estate committee chairperson for the Madisonville Business Chamber and a member of the executive board, our board met in March and unanimously voted to support Mr. Overbeck in the conditional use for vehicle repair at this location. We wrote a letter to that extent. Our president, Terry Henry Hayden, sent that over to Matt, although delinquent. Sorry, Matt. But the overall feeling is that we love having Matt in the neighborhood. Overbeck Auto has been a pillar of this community. We certainly love to see more cleanup happening on that side of the business district, and we unconditionally support this change.
Okay.
As a property owner on that side of the bridge as well, I own the School of Rock at 6710 Madison Road. Again, I feel very confident that Matt is going to be diligent with operating responsibly and trying to reduce any neighborhood impacts. We welcome the expansion, and we love to see more activity on our side of the business district.
Okay, great. Thank you for that perspective and your testimony here today.
Thank you.
All right, I'll go over to Mr. Stephen. Stephen, are you? And you'll need to unmute before we get going here.
I apologize. My cell phone is going off and I can't seem to turn it off. There it went. My name is Don Steffen. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My artisan woodworking business is at 6406 Madison Road. In October 2006, despite a large number of vacant storefronts along Madison Road, I purchased my parcel in part because a stable, successful, and well-regarded Overbeck Auto Service was directly across the street. The entire time I have been here, Overbeck Auto Service has continued to be a stable, positive, and lasting business presence. Their business reputation was then and remains today stellar. They provide services not only to Madisonville residents, but also bring into Madisonville car owners from all of the surrounding neighborhoods: Oakley, Hyde Park, Marymount, Indian Hill, Madeira, and Kenwood. And when these residents of surrounding neighborhoods come to Overbeck Auto Service, they see other Madisonville businesses. Madisonville needs more surrounding neighborhood residents doing business here. When I purchased my parcel in 2006, along Madison Road, there were too many vacant commercial storefronts. Too many of those have remained vacant these 18 and a half years. Overbeck Auto Service has maintained a constant positive presence since I've relocated to Madisonville. Over those years, there has occasionally been businesses at 6420 Madison, but the property has been vacant for several years, which can imply the entire block is in decline. Since the last of those businesses closed, I'm not aware of any other interest in the property. Allowing Overbeck Auto Service to expand to include 6420 Madison Road will benefit all of the nearby properties and Madisonville as a whole with no negatives. I ask you to grant the needed approval. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I don't, and thank you, for being here and for your testimony. It's really for both Mr. Ulrich and Stephen, it's very important, to get a perspective from folks that are on the ground there and in the neighborhood. So again, I appreciate you both being here and sharing your thoughts on the project. I'm gonna turn it over now to Ms. Meehan. Ms. Meehan, did you want to add anything to the conversation here?
I don't have too much to add. I would just state that the auto repair does need a conditional use approval because it is considered a conditional use in the CCM zoning district where we are. In my research, I did also look into the history of Overbeck, Mr. Overbeck's property across the street. And, specifically, I was looking to see, is there any negative information in the file? Have there been complaints, anything like that? And I can tell you I found none. So, and the business has been operating since the 1970s. There are no complaints in the file. Obviously, the gentlemen that have spoken here today speak very favorably, and I found nothing to that would give me any pause in recommending for approval of this. My only thing here is I think originally an 8-foot tall fence was proposed, and I did also ask questions about what the use of that fenced-in area would be. And I, when in talking with Mr. Tetro, we did determine that a 6-foot fence is what we could approve and would be appropriate here for the use that is proposed. As he said, there's no plan to store vehicles or anything like that here, which might require a taller or bigger fence. So we would just request that the fence is 6 feet tall. And I do understand that in the future there will be a dumpster placed back there. But other than that, staff has no hesitation in recommending for approval of the conditional use here.
Great. Hey, as I look through the purposes and the goals of the CCM zoning district, CCMT, it says that, the goals are to create and maintain areas suitable for a wide variety of commercial and institutional uses along major transportation corridors, that may reflect pedestrian and auto-oriented development, and typically accommodate larger scale retail, commercial service uses such as auto-related businesses and recreation and entertainment. So it seems like this is in line with those purposes. Do you have any sense for why a conditional use is required in these districts or what they're trying to avoid?
The code does talk about conditional uses. And it just says that a conditional use is a use that has potential adverse impacts on the immediate neighborhood. Such impacts may interfere with the use and enjoyment of adjacent property and uses. And the process for review of conditional use applications is designed to address the adverse impacts and minimize them where possible. So I'm just reading this directly from the zoning code. And it just says that, the conditional use requires review of the location, design, configuration, any impacts, and the desirability of permitting this establishment on a particular site. So I think it's really just making sure that, the proposed use is in line with the existing uses in that particular zoning district. In this case, it is. The other impacts that there could be, such as noise, will be minimized by the regular work hours of 8 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. As Mr. Overbeck stated, the work will be contained indoors, so they are meeting the intent of this section when they say they're minimizing any kind of adverse effects. There won't be anything stored outside. It'll be inside storage. So they are certainly taking steps to meet the intent of the code here.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, I think we'll turn it back over to the applicants, the applicant owner here. Anything you would like to say in response to the public comments, Ms. Meehan's comments, or my questions? And then any closing remarks you would like to make before we adjourn here today?
I thank everyone for their kind words for our business. It's actually a little bit humbling, but we intend to move to kind of move forward and keep doing what we've been doing and being a good good steward to our properties and in our neighborhood. And I can understand, having done this for a while, I can understand how a lot of folks in the automotive business get a bad rap, because there's a lot of us that don't do a very good job of keeping places clean and operating into the wee hours of the night and doing, crazy things and stacking tires and all kinds of undesirable practices. But it's not how my father operated his business. It's not how I learned to operate mine. So we want to be good members of the community. So we appreciate everybody's time.
Right, great. One more question, Mr. Overbeck. If this were approved, would you be comfortable with conditions on the hours of the use, conditions requiring the screening to go up, and that sort of thing? Because this approval does run with the land. So if you were to, for any reason, sell this to a less reputable auto service provider, they would be, allowed to use this property for the same use.
Gotcha.
And so typically what I do in these cases is I try to, put some guardrails up. So if that does happen, that there's some protections for neighboring properties. Is that something, you've represented today, that's what you're going to do? Would you be comfortable if I formalize that in the decision?
Yeah.
As conditions of approval?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how that works, but I don't see why I wouldn't at least entertain it. I get it. I can see where you're coming from.
Essentially, I'm just asking you, would you like to push back on that? Like if I said this, there can only be vehicle repairs on the property between 8 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. and that the screening is installed and maintained, that you've proposed. That's something that you wouldn't push back on right now. Is that right? No,
okay. Not at all.
Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. I've had a chance
with that said, I might ask that some of those hours, I got guys that start, maybe they start arriving at 7:45 or, I don't want there to be a, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want there to be like, I can't, the guys start opening the garages at 7:45. I don't want to get in trouble, one of those kind of things.
Sure. As far as enforcement goes, I don't believe that
I get it.
Enforcement from the city is going to be that nitpicky. And again, I think the enforcement in the city is largely complaint driven from neighboring properties. And so I think there would have to be some ongoing behavior that violated
somebody
those
have to have a concern.
And there was some evidence of some harm that's being caused. And so, again.
Yeah, nope, not a problem.
Sure. Okay, so I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. Based on that and based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I agree with the recommendation from the planning department. And I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this project. I agree with the testimony that it's important to put these vacant pieces of property back to productive use. Based on all of that, I am going to approve the application. I am going to include some basic conditions of that approval, just to, again, try to safeguard from any potential adverse impacts for neighboring properties, but we've discussed what those will be. It'll be hours and screening. And so as soon as I need to formalize that decision in a written decision. And so that typically, as I said at the beginning, takes a couple weeks. I'll try to get that to you as quickly as I can. As soon as I finish that, I'll put it into a PDF and I'll email it to you and to Kate, or frankly to anyone in the hearing that would like a copy of the decision. Once Kate has that, she can approve the zoning permitting on her end and you can take the next steps. Any questions about that?
Just one quick question. There's also a building permit kind of tied to the process right now. Will Kate's approval or Kate's submission of your approval, will that trigger that building application to being permitted, or do I need to follow up with the building department once
Have you
Kate's
already applied for the building permit?
We've already applied, and I believe it's sort of in the stalling pattern based on
Yeah.
zoning approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kate, do you know the exact, will it automatically re-trigger that to be reviewed once you've okayed the zoning?
So I will go in and look at what building permit is associated with the with this. And then I will sign off on it. If there are other departments that still need to sign off, I guess it would depend on what they are asking. If it's only being held up by zoning, once I sign off, it will then trigger the release of the building permit. If there is anything else that is holding it up, any other revisions from any other departments that were requested, if those have not been received, then I guess a revision would need to come in that reflects the requested information. But if it's only zoning, then once I receive the written approval, I can go in and sign off on that building permit.
Okay,
So
great.
I
And
would-
I'll track it and be sure to follow up if I see something kind of stalled out after you've already approved.
Okay, yeah,
You
I
can always
just,
contact, I'm sorry, Kate, go ahead.
if, I don't know if there's any other departments that you're waiting on for an approval, MSD or anybody else, or
No, I don't think
essentially.
so.
Okay,
I think the one reason that the building department has not approved it yet is because some of the proposals are sort of zoning related. And I think they wanted to see your approval before they approved on the building department side, so.
okay, so then
That makes sense.
they may be able to then sign off once they see that I have signed off for zoning, then maybe they will also sign off.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. Unless there's any other questions, I think we are ready to adjourn. Thank you all. Good luck with the project. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
All right,
Thank